respective provinces, representative of Salga, led by the President, Councillor Tau, our guests, who were part of us, councillors from our different municipalities in our country since we started this local government focus week. You are all welcome in this August house that is representing our provinces called NCOP, National Council of Provinces. Order, members. We now come to the subject for discussion as printed on the order paper. Debate on the outcomes of the 2018 Local Government Week under the theme Land Use Towards Integrated Spatial Planning. The first speaker will be the Chief Whip, Honorable Mohai. Let me take this opportunity to invite you.
Thanks very much, Honorable House Chair, Honorable members of the Council, Honorable Special Delegates, Speakers and Deputy Speakers present here, Executive Mayors, President of Salga, Councillor Pakstau, and the entire leadership of Salga with us. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, today, the 10th May, represents an important milestone in the history of South Africa. It is on this day in 1994 that the first president of the Democratic Republic of South Africa was inaugurated, President Nelson Mandela, who inspired the nation through the Reconstruction and Development Program that remains a foundation to build a better life for all the people of our country. Honorable members, 2018 Local Government Week represents an important milestone and one of the key successes of the 5th Democratic Parliament. The theme for the 2018 Local Government, which is Land Use Towards Integrated and Spatial Planning, affirmed our commitment to confront the massive challenge of massive structural and endemic social inequality, widespread poverty, rising unemployment, and racially segregated communities inherent from colonial and apartheid era. Allow me to convey our profound appreciation for the leadership of Salga, the President of Salga, Councillor Tau, and the entire Salga executive who played an important part in the preparation for this Local Government Week right from the onset. I would like also to convey our appreciation to all the provinces and the entire local government sector for their tireless commitments to always use the NCOP as an important forum to debate issues that face in local government in our country. Honorable House Chair, the discussions from plenaries and various commissions of the 2018 Local Government Week highlighted the persisting historical challenges that are facing South African cities and towns. They have demonstrated that the stark disparities in the living conditions between suburbs, townships, and informal settlements are not only pronounced, but also thoroughly entrenched in our system of local government and the ability of our municipalities to meet the changing demands of urbanizations that are facing communities. The discussions from the plenaries and the various commissions further reasserted the urgent need for the three spheres of government to work together to unleash the potential of our cities and towns and reverse the atrocious legacy of apartheid, spatial injustice, and inequalities. As indicated by the chairperson of the council, Honorable Thandi Modise, in her opening address, key among the challenges that are facing the local government sector and the ability to respond adequately to the need to integrated and spatial planning is the fact that, and I quote, structural and social inequality that were created by colonial and apartheid era, compounded by rapid urbanization and associated economic challenges, remain some of the pronounced factors which impact on the progress to ensure effective land use and integrated spatial planning in the settlement of our communities. close quote. For us as the NCOP, critical to this task is the need for joint planning, monitoring and evaluation between three spheres of government. As stated in the NDP, cooperation between three spheres of government and across sector departments remain one of the burning challenges in the post-apartheid South Africa's democratic governance. The Local Government Week renewed our efforts to hit the clarion call for the NCOP to join efforts with local government sector in mobilizing the national government to seek lasting solutions in addressing the challenges in local government sector, especially in addressing the legacy of apartheid settlement. We need to also work together to devise resolute results in the challenges presented by rapid urbanization and migration patterns. Addressing the economic challenges facing our people, especially the marginalized sectors of our society, remains a central tenet of the task to address the legacy of apartheid and colonialism. To address current urban inefficiencies and inequalities in our communities, as outlined in the NDP, we must achieve the goals of economic development, job creation, and improve living conditions of our people. As indicated by various speakers in the plenaries and commissions, lack of opportunities in rural areas result in large part of rural population relocating to urban areas in search of better opportunities. Honorable Chairperson, as the only chamber within our legislative sector that is located at the cutting edge of intergovernmental relations, we will use the outcomes of local government to ensure critical self-reflection, renewal, and action. We will seek to honestly answer the fundamental question whether we have adequately discharged our constitutional mandate as an institutional mechanism within the national legislature to integrate our system of provincial and local government into national policy space and be in the forefront of driving innovative solutions to address the challenges confronting local government sector. We say this because none but the National Council of Provinces should be a repository of knowledge of the spatial landscape of South Africa, from municipality to municipality, district to district, and province to province as a basis for informed support and intervention. It is on the basis of this knowledge that early warning systems on the critical flashpoints of crisis in terms of access, use, and management of land can be anchored. Honorable Chairperson, the funding of the local government sector is key in transforming our society. The Fiscal Commission in particular highlighted a number of fiscal challenges that are facing various municipalities by households, business, and the national and provincial spheres of government. A number of solutions were presented to address the intergovernmental debt facing municipalities. As the NCOP, we want to reassure the local government sector that we'll add our voice on the issues of intergovernmental debt. To conclude, Honorable House Chair, allow me once again to thank the cooperation of stakeholders present here, the ministries, provincial legislatures, and SALGA, for making 2018 Local Government Week a success. I must also extend on behalf of all of us, as public representatives of our people, our appreciation to support staff for their support in making this a success. I wish all of us the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Mondlane from Salga is our next speaker.
Honorable Chairperson of National Council of Provinces in absentia, Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Chief Whip of the NCOP, Honorable members of the NCOP, the President of SALGA and UCLG, SALGA NCOP representatives, the NEC of SALGA, fellow councillors, esteemed guests, the media, our visitors in the gallery. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to share our remarks and formally affirm our endorsement of the 2018 NCOP Local Government Week report. This year, the year of Nelson Mandela and our esteemed leader, a brave revolutionary and a witness of hope, patience, and clarity of vision, Me Albertina Nontsikelelo Sisulu. As a country, we are celebrating two great lives unlike any other. As a young person, indeed all of us as the people of South Africa, we remain internally indebted to these icons and many other struggle heroes and heroines for their sacrifices in pursuit of a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic South Africa. As we remember these great icons, we are grateful for the many lessons they taught us. One of such lessons is the power of dialogue over physical confrontation, the power of ideas, the power of reason, but most importantly, the need to study not only those you agree with, but those whom we don't agree with. Honorable members, today we face a different struggle of chronic levels of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. What makes our modern day challenges even more peculiar is that they manifest in racial character, in that the levels of poverty are indeed inextricably linked to race and geography. Details and complexity of how race and space was used to determine the class position of future generations have indeed been the subject of our discussions in the past 2 days. As our President, Councillor Pax Tau, in his opening address 2 days ago said, the strategic thrust of all constitutions across the community of nations seek to articulate, although with differing degrees of intensity and detail, the shared aspirations of a nation, the values which bind citizenry and institutions together, the envisaged society, the character of the state, and the form of government considered appropriate for each of these nations. Accordingly, the South African Constitution, which across the globe has been hailed as one of the most progressive in the world, sought to expressly provide unambiguously the character of our state and the preferred form of government. Flowing from the foregoing, our state is constituted as national, provincial, and local spheres of government, which is distinctive, interdependent, and interrelated. The above affirm our vision for a reciprocal cooperative governance system. If I was contributing in a similar debate but different platform, I would place more emphasis on the dialectical intricability of these three spheres of government. It is in this context that our discussion must at all times be on the premise of a solid system of governance and a dependable form of government that functions as a systematic single whole. We therefore should spend more time and resources perfecting the latter and the spirit of Section 154. We must acknowledge that whenever a province or a municipality is placed under Section 100 or Section 139, that we could all have done better. It is in this context, honorable members, that we have proposed in our contribution during the debates in the past 2 days, and indeed resolved as reflected in the report, that we should improve our support and monitoring and not to perfect interventions in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution. On that note, I wish to borrow the words of the father of the nation, President Nelson Mandela. We slaughter one another in our words and attitudes. We slaughter one another in the stereotypes and mistrust that linger in our heads, and the words of hate we spew from our lips. We slaughter one another in the responses that some of us give to efforts aimed at bettering the lives of the poor. We slaughter one another and our country by the manner in which we exaggerate its weaknesses to the wider world. Heroes of the gap who are stoned their foreign associates by their self-flagellation. This must come to an end. For indeed, those who thrive on hatred destroy their own capacity to make a positive contribution. Deputy Chair of the House, we must agree that the structural configuration of our state and indeed the quasi-federal form of our government requires a symbiotic and intergovernmental interface between the three spheres of government for both executive and the legislative arm of the state. In the past few days, the NCOP lived to this expectation. Whilst there are real challenges in the local sphere of government, we spent more time collectively reflecting and concretely packaging practical proposals on how we can improve the system. As SALGA, we are particularly grateful to the leadership of the NCOP and members of the executive who set time aside to join the flagship event in our calendar. We remain convinced that more can be done to use our fiscus to deconstruct apartheid geography and thereby fundamentally addressing the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We therefore are of the opinion that the NCOP should facilitate a more structured conversation between the three spheres of government on how we can best review the equitable share. We agree with you, Honorable Chair of the NCOP. This is with regards to the remarks you made on the opening address. A time has come to place more emphasis on the strategic importance of the local government sphere and therefore provide enough resources to realize our vision for a truly developmental local government system. I wish to take this opportunity to formalize our support and implore both the leadership of SALGA and that of the NCOP. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge from our gallery the Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi. Our next speaker is Honorable Engelbrecht. No, don't worry about time, Honorable Engelbrecht.
Honorable Chairperson, in addressing our triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, we need look no further than our own municipalities, which should be providing the infrastructure and support to stimulate business and become the breeding ground of investment. It is only through stimulating our local economy that SMEs and local businesses will grow and develop, providing job opportunities for all, that we can change the future of this country. We must have municipalities that are run effectively with people who care and underpin their leadership with good, clean governance that is transparent and above board at all times. Yet, looking at the surge of problematic municipalities, with more than 30 of them requiring distress intervention during just this 5th Parliament, it has become clear our municipalities are in deep trouble. Many of them are dysfunctional, with endemic corruption and poor financial management leading to continuous negative audit outcomes. Money is not being spent on fixing or upgrading infrastructure, but according to our minister, for every extra rand provided, 50% is spent on bloated staff structures. We need to consider a new funding model, particularly for small municipalities that have a very small rate of paying residents. Under a DA government, we will ensure there are opportunities for private sector partnerships and agreements, just as we have already successfully implemented that in many of our municipalities, with increased funding, upgrading, and creating new infrastructure. Chairperson, water is the most precious resource we have, and we must look after it and preserve it, ensuring there will be growing communities to financially support sustainable municipalities. Yet, how do we know what the quality of our water really is? Shockingly, the last blue and green drop report from the Department of Water and Sanitation was last released in 2014, and that report indicated that 84% of the 927 water waste treatment plants were in critical risk. This means that only 16% of our sewer plants are effective. This means that every single day, 4,200 million litres of water, untreated and inadequately treated sewage water, is illegally discharged into 82% of our rivers. This poison flowing through our rivers also flows through our veins as we eat the fish, the meat, and the vegetables that are irrigated by this untreated water. I have personally witnessed hundreds of dead fish floating down a river, bubbling with raw feces. Once profitable vegetable farms are now producing only tiny cabbages that are rotten from the inside. I have witnessed breeding herds of cows, either aborting early or giving birth to malformed calves. Chairperson, when the water infrastructure fails, 56 million people will be affected, putting our economy and our food security at risk. Under a DA government, we will ensure that our water resources are protected, monitoring the pollution of our rivers and water streams by appointing more blue scorpions, enforcing the DA's polluter must pay principle. We will implement the DA's use it or lose it principle, where underperforming municipal water infrastructure is transferred to the water boards. And we will ensure a rapid response unit to provide project management interventions, making use of pressure management, and we will ensure that we build additional dams in catchment areas. Chairperson, in Gauteng, our 3 metros are currently losing R1 million per month in cable theft, and there is an estimated R500 million of copper that is yearly exported out of the country. Municipalities have to replace these vandalized electrical cables, money that should be used to maintain and replace current infrastructure. To stop this continual destruction of infrastructure, copper needs to be declared a precious metal, like gold and silver. The Second-Hand Goods Act, No. 6 of 2009, and the International Trade Administration Act, No. 71 of 2002, need to be amended to ensure that copper trading becomes a serious criminal offence, closing all loopholes in the sale of copper. Chairperson, we have 3 spheres of government that share the financial cake, with 48% of our revenue being allocated to national departments, 43% to provinces, and only 9% to our 278 municipalities. A DA government would reduce our large cabinet to 15 ministries, linking spending priorities that would promote economic growth and job creation. By doing this, we could save an estimated R4.7 billion each year, which could be used to improve and upgrade our failing infrastructure. A municipality receives its main source of revenue from residents who pay their rates and taxes. Unfortunately, a culture of non-payment has developed, which is busy destroying their viability, with R158 million currently owed to municipalities by non-paying residents. We need to re-evaluate our moral fiber to a more inclusive and responsible society. Chairperson, we must denounce violence, the destruction of assets, and the culture of non-payment. We must all take responsibility, as we have a duty to look after the infrastructure we already have. We need to be prudent with how we spend our finances. Unfortunately, we cannot waste money on rebuilding and replacing old infrastructure. This requires the value of respect from all of us. The DA will continue to fight for a free and fair society for all, a society where the most vulnerable are included in the economy. Let all of us, each one of us, make the difference. Let each of us start regaining our moral ground, and let's become one South Africa for all. I thank you.
Thank you. The Chair of Chairs from Free State, Honorable Ramokhoase.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Order,
On the
members.
22nd November 1996, during the Summit for Organized Local Government, former President Nelson Mandela made the following pronouncements and assertions in Durban, 1996. And I quote, "We have the task of doing whatever is necessary to ensure that our local government system serves the needs of our communities. We have the responsibility to make their voices heard and to provide an effective instrument for them to improve their life." Close quote. The second one, he said, "Interaction and cooperation on policy issues and coordination of activities must become second nature. However, this does not mean that government must be paralyzed by the need to consult. As elected representatives, we have a duty to take decisions. Some decisions may be popular, but others not so popular. The fact remains that progress and developments are dependent on well thought out decisions." Close quote. Chairperson, I just want to deal with the interventions and support and step off here. Interventions in the affairs of municipalities by national and provincial government should not be perceived as a form of interference, but as a way to strengthen and support a municipality to perform its functions in line with legislation. Now, synergy between Section 139 and Section 154 of the Constitution. The bottom line is that inferences that may be drawn from issues of support and strength that may be given by national and provincial governments when they intervene in the affairs of municipalities may involve, amongst others, the following: the financial support, skills development and training, empowerment through universities of technology or university, local government courses, in-house training, provision of general management courses, benchmarking with other municipalities in the country, and so on. Failure to lend support and strength to municipalities by national and provincial government is the main reason that many municipalities land in the mud of mismanagement of their affairs. That's an identified shortfall that we have to deal with as we were deliberating. So that's very key. When we intervene, we just want to say, let's intervene in real intervening, meaning that we have got to act and come into municipalities as national and provincial structures by not giving instructions, but getting into municipalities, working with them, taking them along up to the end. Now, how to strengthen cooperative governance in local government? One mechanism of strengthening cooperative government in local government is through the involvement of people in policy-making decisions that affect them in their daily lives. We have stressed that point. This mechanism of involving local communities is implied in Section 1542 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Draft national and provincial legislation must be subjected to public comment before it is introduced in Parliament. So we're saying, let's try and intensify our consultation processes, not going to people because we want to comply. Let's make sure we start in time, we do it on time, and we are sure that our people are moving with us. Local communities must be effectively involved in creating structures and in designing policies and programs that serve the interest of all. Communities must also be allowed to contribute to the development processes of their municipalities. It's been identified that because we leave them, or we always leave them behind, they sometimes probably disown developments that are coming to them because we just take them halfway in the completion of the project. So that's a challenge. We have got to look into that so that we start with them and move along with them. Methods that municipalities can employ in order to promote public participation in local government involve, amongst others, the following. I have said it: consultation, informing the people, placations, giving them information through the placards, all kinds of information delivery so that these things become their own, and they own the information or the projects. The partnership, we need to emphasize and also make sure that we partner with our people where necessary. We shouldn't think that because they are ordinary, it's only government structures that will actually partner, or business, private sector, public sector, and so on. No. Organize people at the ground with their small projects. It's very important when you partner with them in making some developments. The delegated powers also. Some powers also have got to be delegated to the people, even if their structures are not a government or what, but we have got to make them feel that they are part of government because we delegate some of the powers to them, because government is theirs, they are the government. So if we always believe that we can delegate powers amongst ourselves only and leave them on the ground because they don't belong to any structure of government, it's a danger. At the end of the day, it will be a futile exercise. Now, coming to organized local government. Organized local government is premised in Organized Local Government Act 52 of 1997. This act provides for the determination of positions by national and provincial organizations representing different municipalities regarding the following. This is where we were actually emphatic around the SALGA coming in, and it was clear. SALGA indicated that, previously sometimes it was not very easy to come into the party, but it was on record that for now things are open and they see the green light. That is why that successful workshop of yesterday, because now SALGA was part from the beginning. So I think we have succeeded, the NCOP, through you in achieving that goal. Now, we're looking forward on the following: designation of representatives to participate. You have done that now. It is in practice. That's a plus. Consultation by local government with national and provincial government. We have also in our resolution resolved on that one. Nomination we have, and in our Financial and Fiscal Commission, we need also to have those people representing SALGA. I have always believed that it cannot be COCTA talking on behalf of SALGA. It can't happen that way. It's not their union, it's not their mouthpiece. They must always speak for themselves. So we have actually tried to achieve that one. The main objective of this act is to promote cooperative governance between all the three spheres. Cooperation between spheres of government may reduce. Once we reach that stage, this may reduce the following: maladministration and corruption that exist within municipalities in the country. Such cooperation may also promote the following within spheres of government: the information sharing, knowledge transfer, skills transfer and sharing, and team building, amongst others. I think that was the purpose of the workshop we attended yesterday. So I think the debate today was far from the usual debate of coming to present how the DA in Cape Town is doing its things. This is quite irrelevant, because this is a debate about the workshop we're just coming from. So I found my honorable member being out of order really through you, Chairperson. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Isaac, why are you standing?
No, it's fine, Chairperson. I was just worried that maybe the member is not feeling too well or something.
Okay, take your seat. Thank you. All the honorable members, Honorable Kaula. All the honorable members, let's allow Honorable Kaula.
Honorable Chairperson, indeed, the Local Government Summit held during the course of the 2018 Local Government Week has provided all the relevant stakeholders with an ideal platform to reflect on the gains and shortcomings of our governance in local government matters. On behalf of the IFP, I express gratitude to all those who participated in planning and making the inputs. It is worth noting that during this fifth democratic parliament, of the total number of the Section 139 interventions that have so far taken place, almost half of them have occurred in KwaZulu-Natal at 48%. Compare this to the fourth democratic parliament, where for the whole term of a period of 5 years, KwaZulu-Natal only had interventions at 15%. But right now, not even halfway to the term, KZN is leading with 48% interventions. Coincidentally, this is happening at a time when the ANC-NFP coalition at local government is no more because of the failure of the NFP to register for local government elections in 2016. One has to ask how much of these interventions are a mere abuse of power for party political reasons by the partisan political authorities. A genuine authentic point has been raised by the participants of the summit, especially SALGA, to the effect that Section 139 must only be considered as a last resort, and that Section 139 must not be utilized as a punitive measure, and that when Section 139 is invoked, careful consideration should be taken of whether Section 154 has been fully exhausted before resorting to 139. One has to ponder on questions like, to what extent these issues are considered at NCOP when these matters are tabled before this House. To my recollection, a chorus of Siyavuma by provincial delegation heads is usually the norm without any consideration of the basis on the maximum application of Section 154. The IFP considers this 2018 summit to have been a wake-up call to the authenticity and desirability of decisions taken by this House. Hence, the IFP welcomes the recommendation for the development of a comprehensive local government municipal support and intervention framework to guide intervention implementation, monitoring and oversight, as well as post-intervention support. Another important point raised here is the constitutional positioning of the NCOP NCOP in its ability to can bring together all spheres of government under one roof. If this is the case even for operational purposes without merely paying lip service to it, a question may arise to say, why has the NCOP so far failed to make national and provincial departments pay their debts that they owe to municipalities? Another point that kept on coming back is the lack of adequate financial resources for municipalities to can be able to perform their duties, whereas Whereas local government is at the coalface of service delivery, and whereas Section 227 of the Constitution states that provincial and national justice to continually ignore the input of traditional leaders on the important matters of land. It has been stated that when provinces provide support in terms of Section 154 of the Constitution, they still expect municipalities to fund the cost of such support rendered.
Conclude.
Oh, Chairperson, ngiyathokoza sihlalo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kaula. The Limpopo Portfolio Committee Chairperson of Coxstar, Honorable Apiri.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Aki jesba se go fitlhisha madumo a go tswa Limpopo go ba etapele ka moka ba phuthegile mo go ya ka kgati. Honorable Chair, let me remind this august House about the importance of this day. Today, Honorable Chair, is just not an ordinary day, but a very historic and memorable one. In this day, Honorable Chair, in 1994, the first black president, Tata Nelson Mandela, a freedom fighter, reconciliator, negotiator, a lawyer by profession, a natural social worker, our first commander-in-chief, was inaugurated. Honorable Chair, we will forever indebted to what he stood for. We have gathered here today to map way forward on how to entrench service delivery in all corners of this beautiful country that we reclaimed in 1994. Honorable Chair, since 1994, South Africa has experienced a steep and very difficult learning curve with regard to local government development. The institutional design in general and specifically put in place system, procedures, and programs of local government. When the period of transition arrived, there was democratic local government system based on inappropriate jurisdictions, structure, and program. Since the dawn of democracy in South Africa, great and significant progress has been made in designing local government systems, structures, mechanisms for service delivery, and governmental principles intended to promote sustainable development. Honorable Chair, local government experts defined local government as a collective of political and administrative authorities constituted by law which have substantial control of local affairs and are responsible for providing services. We are here today, Honorable Chair, indeed to ensure that basic services are delivered without any hindrance to our communities. It shall not be correct, Honorable Chair, not to recognize the good work done by our local government, which is required to take a meaningful leadership role to citizens and stakeholder groups to be empowered and partake in development process in order to create social resources and engender a sense of common purpose in funding local solutions for sustainability. The South African government decentralized power to local government in order to create better opportunity for direct participation in service delivery, policy and decision-making process by civil society. These actions were conducted in an effort to speed up reformation of the development of local government. The 2000 local government elections were the first truly non-racial democratic local government elections, as it dispensed with the racial quotas of the previous elections. Before 1994, local government had been structured to facilitate and regulate the agenda of racial segregation and exclusion. Consequently, each racial group was afforded its own type of local government, and different types coincided spatially with the formal segregation of races in terms of Native Areas Act of 1923 and later the Group Areas Act of 1952. Practically, it meant that the four designated racial groups, namely white, colors, Indians, and Africans, each have their own version of local government, though with different capacity and powers. Honorable members and chair, it is so befitting to present these historical accounts to you in this August House to have a better understanding on where we are coming from. The integrated spatial vision proposed by NDP 2030 vision is an important informant in the implementation for spatial planning and land use. One of the most key issues pertaining to land use planning, amongst others, is integrated planning, coordination between spheres of government, national spatial vision, institutional arrangement, settlement patterns, formal and informal economic activity, fragmented development patterns. Honorable Chair, it is against this background that through public-private partnership, we can provide spatial planning, land use management, and spatial information to municipalities, support the development and implementation of spatial planning and land use management policies and legislation, development of tools to restructure the current undesirable settlement patterns and spatial planning and information services for land reform and rural development. This local government week has noted positives and successes achieved by ANC-led government over a few years. The provision of state-subsidized houses and basic subsidies to beneficiaries since 1994 has made a widespread positive impact on the lives of many South Africans. The continued rationalization of municipalities has been geared to institutionalize equitable access to the opportunities provided by our municipal areas. Numerous pieces of legislation, such as Pluma, had geared to ensure similar non-racial based planning across the country. Honorable Chair, internationally, government is developing countries have pioneered a number of approaches designed to address these issues and encourage the active participation of all stakeholders, both in urban and rural society. This must include the following: multi-stakeholder partnership, planning and design briefs, land sharing and land pooling or readjustment. All the recommendations, Honorable Chair, emanated from this local government week are well crafted and progressive. On land invasions, fortunately in terms of statistics, as Limpopo, we are experiencing very few land invasions. Monitoring of these land invasions will assist all the municipalities to engage and manage the processes and effects of this opportunistic challenge. Most of our provinces are very rural, Honorable Chair. Discussions of mechanism to reduce red tape for the release of publicly owned land is progressive. As indicated, the working group must also determine how local government shall respond to the release of other categories of land for effective socio-economic development. Limpopo Province, Honorable Chair, experienced drought few years ago. The implications of the drought were calamitous, especially to farmers. We welcome the recommendation on contingency plans needed to be developed for drought-stricken areas, especially in rural areas. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, we will never fold our arms when one of our Comrade Caster Semenya, the international athlete coming from the heartland of Southern Africa, where development is about people being attacked by the so-called the International Association of Athletic Federation. Their new rules is nothing, Honorable Chair, but a continued attack on the persona of the international, national, Limpopian and athlete. Let's join Minister of Sports and Recreation in her engagement with the association. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker is the Gauteng Chairperson of Economic Development and Agriculture, Honorable Maherman.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. Honorable members, we are gathered here to debate issues of national importance under the theme Land Use Towards Integrated Spatial Planning. Indeed, this is a progressive effort by the NCOP and SALGA to host this local government week as a tool to allow national, provincial government, municipalities to sit under one roof to improve the lives of our people. As Gauteng, we support this initiative as municipalities are the eyes and ears of the issues of the people on the ground. Hence, the collapse of local government is the collapse of government in general. On the 6th of May 1919, at the annual conference of the ANC in the then Cape Colony, President Makhato addressed the conference and said, I quote, "We ask for no special favors from the government. This is the land of our fathers," unquote. It is therefore a great pleasure and honor to be afforded the opportunity to debate on behalf of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature at this important NCOP Local Government Week program. Honorable Chairperson, as we will be celebrating 24 years of democracy, we wasted no time in seeing to it that the Gauteng Legislature commits itself towards building an activist and transformative legislature that would inspire public confidence by operating in a manner that places the people at the center of its business, vigorously advocating and promoting public interest in a non-partisan way. In this way, the Gauteng Provincial Legislature became a true tribune of the people. We have accelerated its political mandate of mobilizing social forces around public participation, whilst also transforming itself into an agent of change and representing a democratic institution ready to discharge its key role in social transformation by encouraging public participation in its core activities, thus soliciting the views of the people of South Africa in general and the people of Gauteng in particular. We have put together a lot of emphasis on the work bestowed upon us as custodians of lawmaking, oversight, and public participation, and this is what distinguishes the Gauteng Provincial Legislature through its committees as the epitome of creating opportunities for the people of Gauteng to participate in lawmaking and oversight processes. Another instance of our commitment to resolve the local government trajectory and narrative is to firstly create attractive residential areas with an effective public transport system, affordable housing rental stock. We have this mega project, human settlements projects now that are being developed. The Gauteng Provincial Legislature has epitomized local municipalities as agents of change aimed at building integrated and globally competitive city where the economic activities of different parts complement each other in consolidating an economic hub of Africa and an internationally recognized global city region. We benchmark ourselves and compete against other cities and regions around the globe. As Gauteng, given the opportunity, will be able to reach the National Development Plan goals of 2030, where South Africa will be a developmental state that is accountable, focused on citizens' priorities, and capable of delivering high-quality services consistently and sustainably through cooperative governance and participatory democracy. Honorable Chairperson and members, we are committed to a local government system that is at the forefront of participatory democracy, involving citizens in meaningful deliberations regarding governance and development, which is responsive to citizens' priorities and enjoys high levels of trust and credibility amongst the public, whose employees are skilled, competent, and committed to delivering quality services, is able to cost effectively increase the quantity and quality of services, and operate within the supportive and empowering intergovernmental system. We are, however, cautious that municipalities operate in a complex environment. A lot of issues were raised yesterday, from funding to over-regulations. Those are all in the reports, and I think these are issues that we should all grapple with and try and resolve these issues. They operate in a complex environment, and municipal performance is impacted at institutional, environment, and macro socio-economic levels. While at the same time, these municipalities' performance will require a proactive approach in managing the intergovernmental system in order to address specific weaknesses in collaboration and capacity support. National and provincial departments and entities impacting on local government must cooperate better and act with greater synergy in providing oversight and support. Moreover, provincial departments as well as provincial legislatures must improve the way they monitor and support local government. Our experience is that the involvement of traditional leaders in the spatial planning is a very critical factor in addressing cooperative governance to resolve issues of our people and creating a better life for all. Honorable Chairperson, poverty, inequality, and unemployment remain the key socio-economic and development challenges in the South African context. Municipalities play a key role in facilitating local economic growth through increased investment and creation of employment opportunities, and in that way we will achieve a democratic, accountable local government governments that are financially viable. To build up the economic capacity of a local area, to improve its economic future and the quality of life for all, it is a process by which public, business, and non-governmental sector partners work collectively to create better conditions for economic growth and employment generation. Moving forward, we need to consolidate the provision of free basic services to indigent households by establishing policy coherence and common qualifying criteria standards for the equitable provision of the free basic services basket across the board, and building an up-to-date and accurate indigent register through more regular survey and registration processes. Honorable Chairperson, we are proud of our past and confident of the future, in that Gauteng is a small province, however, with the most economic and social demands. This is due to the urban character of the province and the vast infrastructural and industrial development. This requires that we become more vigorous in responding to the needs of the people and the socio-economic conditions of the province. In conclusion, Chairperson, working together with communities in Gauteng, we embrace the concept of uniting all South Africans around a common program to achieve prosperity and equality. The promotion of an active citizenry to strengthen democracy and accountability towards building a capable and developmental state based on the principles of the Freedom Charter. Former President Mandela addressed the National Conference of the Institute of Democratic South Africa at IDASA, I quote, "Democratic local authorities will help us to join hands to heal the social fabric of our communities damaged by the enforced divisions of apartheid," close quote. In doing so, we have demonstrated unity and cohesion and a sense of responsibility beyond the call of duty, and with what that made a clarion call that we will value the aspirations and dreams of our municipalities. Chairperson, we support all the recommendations adopted by the plenary yesterday, and you can count on Gauteng to give the support to the local government week program as we continue to improve the lives of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The KwaZulu-Natal Portfolio Committee on COGTA, Honorable Swartboy Ntombela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, allow me to thank the NCOP and the African National Congress for allowing me to debate under the theme Land Use and Integrated Spatial Planning. Local Government Week is a truly fascinating initiative that has provided us with an opportunity to come together and share experiences and knowledge amongst the three spheres. Let me kick off and go straight to the notion of spatial planning and integrated land use management that has emerged as an interesting and diverse theme. Underpinning it lie various notions of integration of policy, communities, and agendas In our own context, spatial planning can be used as a tool for spatial transformation in order to achieve spatial equity as we continue to transition towards a society characterized by economic inclusivity and equal access to socio-economic opportunities. Chairperson, the inherent injustices stemming from apartheid era, spatial planning are well documented in the prevailing disparity in the provision of services to communities. Examples of these disparities are numerous and include a high number of informal settlements with few or no services, poor quality of services, lack of basic infrastructure, long queues for services, limited public access to housing, water and sanitation, degraded environment, threatened food security, and a very topically land invasions. Based on the above, there is an urgent need for sustainable land use planning. This is widely recognized and well articulated in the KZN Provincial Growth and Development Strategy that seeks to promote spatial equity and ensuring improved access to goods and services. It proposes to do so by enhancing the resilience of new and existing cities, towns, and rural nodes, ensuring equitable access to resources, social and economic opportunities, and by ensuring an integrated land use management across our province, ensuring equitable access to goods and services, attracting social and financial investment. In KZN, Chairperson, at the present, we are, however, have to contend with a varying capacity at municipal level to undertake the municipal planning mandate, with some municipalities still without a planner in their municipal organogram. With regards to SPLUMA implementation, we are faring better with all institutional arrangements in place. The challenge, though, is the operation of SPLUMA, including developing the necessary tools as well as dealing with the development authorization, something which most are still struggling with. Chairperson, in KZN, all the 54 municipalities have spatial development frameworks with drafts reviewed as recently as April 2018 in terms of land use schemes. 7 municipalities are 100% covered and 35 municipalities are partially covered. In all others, schemes are at various levels of preparation, and in some instances, progress is worrying as the due date for wall-to-wall schemes is 2020. Chairperson, the status quo requires development of realistic and implementable plans with long-term vision, and this goes hand in hand with critical infrastructure planning and prioritization of areas with the highest need. As COCTA Portfolio Committee, we are pleased to report that KZN COCTA is actively pursuing these objectives at local level. All our infrastructure investment and development must support local socio-economic objectives and be aligned with the provincial and national imperatives. Hence, KZN COCTA's focus on alignment of municipal IDPs with broader developmental objectives in the province. The preparation of the provincial spatial planning framework currently underway will support and promote the objectives of SPLUMA and hopefully result in the identification of strategically located land in rural areas. Such land can then be preserved for economic development opportunities. There is a need for capacity building that is suited for required tasks and functions of municipalities. The Department of COCTA in KZN is proactively reviewing senior municipal appointments to achieve this goal. And while institutional arrangement and some planning tools are already in place in KZN municipalities, there is a need to consider enforcement of law, wherein municipalities are able to enforce their own policies and procedures. such as in instances of illegal development and land invasions. And KZN COCTA is looking into the level of support to support municipalities. We are excited to learn that the National Development Department of COCTA is about to roll out development of master plans for traditional communities. In KwaZulu-Natal, we pride ourselves to share that development of traditional settlement master plans has been undertaken since in about 2015. The need to develop such plans was identified out of the realization that there was a lack of clarity on the principles that should be taken into account in allocating land generally, which sometimes results in overlap and conflict on land use. Whilst Pluma calls for wall-to-wall schemes, it is noted that the nature of existing schemes is urban biased and trends to exclude indigenous practices in land allocation and land use management. Hence, traditional settlement master plans, which will feed into the municipal land use schemes. Chairperson, on the issue of energy access, we applaud SALGA on the successful energy summit that was held in March. We acknowledge the challenges outlined in the summit and especially the need to revisit the traditional electricity industry structure to respond to the technological changes and innovation, including a fair transition in light of climate change agenda. The electricity service provision is no longer a cash cow, but requires new strategies to make it suitable for local government in particular. We support the urgent review of the whole energy value chain and applaud the National Minister of COCTA for the work currently underway through IMTT. On the issue of water access, in dealing with water access, the whole economy of water needs to be considered holistically, including issues of water use, water licensing, and water ownerships. And maybe here our suggestion is that we need to invest in the water harvesting and recycling, and also look at the ways of implementing desalination. We know that it is very expensive to do so. And finally, there is an urgent need to establish and maintain meaningful partnerships between government and private sector and identify opportunities for cooperation and well as engage in an ongoing dialogue with critical stakeholders, including landowners, to mitigate potential conflicts. KZN is keeping all necessary lines of communication open and in many instances acts as a conduit to meaningful cooperation between government and its key stakeholders. In addition to achieving equitable spatial planning at local government level, the next step is ensuring municipal financial viability. Ideally, though, through a review of local government existing funding model. In KZN, our focus is firmly on revenue collection, and here we are both appealing to municipal residents to pay their rates. For instance, a chairperson, as COCTA, what we have done is an aggressive revenue enhancement campaign called Pay Your Levies, Nothing for Mahal. We launched an initiative in Edumbe municipality earlier this year, and within the first month of the campaign, we saw a financial turnaround which reported a 17 million strong positive cash balance, moving from a deficit of 2 million in Edumbe municipality alone. This was a direct result of our debt collection initiatives. At the same time, we are gearing for strategic investment in our rural areas to actively increase municipalities. Chairperson. On the issue of the small town rehabilitation, Chairperson, we are faring well as KZN. The only issue is the issue of finance, because we are paying for Izinduna. The Department of COCTA as such does not have money. It's about 65% of the budget of COCTA goes to compensation of employees. We'll plead with National Treasury to assist us, Chairperson. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Sorpo Ntombela. To all those that will be going to the podium for the first time, my task is very simple. There's a watch that is there. It's at the corner of your right. Once you are there, there's a watch there, you check it. Honorable Mukwile.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. CIC, commissars and fighters all over the country. Today's debate is debate on land use towards integrated spatial planning. For a colonized people, the most essential value, because of the most concrete, is first and foremost the land. The land which will bring them bread and above all dignity. These are the words of Francis Fanon, one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century. The reason I have quoted Fanon is because the reality is that we cannot debate land use and integrated spatial planning without discussing the need to return the land to those who it was taken from. Spatial planning in every corner of this country, whether in the deep rural or cities, is defined by an unequal distribution of land, which is a legacy of the brutal colonialism and apartheid. A history that saw white settlers take the land of our people through force and violence, leaving us with only 13%. This took away our way of life, the ability to feed ourselves and our dignity. Till this day, South Africa remains the most unequal country in the world and continues to see the white minority owning the majority of the land at the expense of the black majority, who only owns less than 20%. The city we are currently in, that is Cape Town, is the perfect example of this. And it is here where it all started, in 1652. Today, Cape Town remains divided. The Cape Flats, far from jobs and the city center, are where black and colors live in terrible, overcrowded conditions, often without proper water, electricity, and sanitation. While the suburbs close to the city, close to jobs and city center, are where whites live, with good schools and good service delivery, with proper running water and electricity. This is the same spatial divides and inequality we saw in the past 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and still today. This provides beyond doubt that all attempts up until today to redistribute land have failed, despite lies by the DA that they have been successfully in their land redistribution policy, and that the only way in which land can be fairly and equally redistributed is if the state expropriate land without compensation, which will happen once the Section 25 of the Constitution is amended. Once the land is expropriated without compensation, we can truly begin creating the future South Africa we want for ourselves and our children. A future Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, and Chris Hani all dreamed and fought for. A South Africa where cities are built and planned with housing, transport, recreational and economic needs of the people in mind, so that people stay close to work and do not have to spend half of their wages on transport so that children have open space, parks and sports fields to play on, so that people live in a house worth of calling homes, where parents are able to share intimate moment because they are not sleeping in the same room as their children. Expropriating land without compensation will allow those who for so long have been farm workers for generations to finally own the land they and their parents worked on for little or no pay, making the Freedom Charter a lived reality. But expropriation of land without compensation must see women being the first who are prioritized when land distributed, as the first, particularly black women, who carried this nation in darkest time and have suffered the violence of both racism and patriarchy. This is what we mean when we talk about land use for spatial development. And this is what we are fighting for when we say economic freedom in our lifetime. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Mhlachuping.
Honorable Chair, I only wanted to ask if the honorable member would take a question.
No, thank you, thank you. Take your seat.
And you
Thanks.
did not allow me the chance.
No, thanks.
Because she quoted
No,
quite a number of
thanks.
leaders.
Thanks.
And I wanted to ask if Tony Leon and the others could be counted amongst the heroes
Take your seat.
who could return the land.
Take your seat. Honorable Motara. I never, sorry, Honorable Motara. Honorable Isaac. No, Honorable Isaac, I never allowed him to ask a question. That is why I said he must sit down. Honorable Mokwele is done. It's Honorable Motara now.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable President of SALGA and the leadership of SALGA, members of the NCOP, special delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1994, the democratic government faced a series of challenges, including spatial, economic and social transformation, economic growth and economic inclusion in order to move South Africa forward. At the core are interventions aimed at addressing poverty and inequality, as well as the overall adverse legacy of apartheid. South Africa is one of the most unequal and unevenly developed countries in the world. Growth has also been observed at different rates across different provinces and regions, with previously well-serviced areas generally showing better growth rates and performance compared to previously neglected areas. The National Development Plan, which is a blueprint of addressing the socio-economic inequities confronting our country, highlights the need for addressing the fragmented fiscal arrangements for spatial development in housing, infrastructure, and neighborhood development as one of the central tasks for transforming our communities and addressing apartheid spatial settlement patterns. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which lays the foundation for the unalienable rights of our people and the fundamental tasks of the various spheres of our government, enjoins national and provincial governments to, through legislative and other measures, assist municipalities in their tasks by supporting and strengthening their capacity to meet the needs of communities. The Constitution and applicable legislation, such as the Local Government Municipal Structures Act, number 117 of 1998, and the Municipal Finance Management Act, number 56 of 2003, empowers provinces to intervene in municipalities that are not able to perform their functions as obligated by the Constitution. At the 54th National Elective Conference, the ANC resolved that government has the responsibility to revive the economy, to ensure social protection of the poor and vulnerable in our society. We said this because provinces and municipalities play a crucial role in advancing the economic development of their respective societies. Honorable House Chairperson, the provision of provincial and municipal public infrastructure services ensures mobility for goods and services while creating jobs for our people. The basic municipal services such as water, electricity, refuse removal, as well as business licensing and other municipal services, are essential for the well-being of citizens and a conducive environment for business. It is our view as the ANC that the fiscal health of municipalities is at the very core of the ability of municipalities to meet their constitutional and legislative obligations. Well-managed municipalities with prudent financial management and revenue collection systems are essential in delivering effective services to transform our society. As the ANC, we are indeed happy that the 2018 Local Government Week, hosted by the NCOP, has added to our clarion call to ensure that the local government sector develops and enhances viable financial and fiscal management processes. We have also given more impetus to the commitment to strengthen the capacity of local government to spend their budgetary allocations effectively and efficiently, while also seeking ways to enhance their revenue generation and collection mechanisms. The president of SALGA, Comrade Parkstow, stated, and I quote, "We do not need to find urgent alternative interventions in this area so that we don't undermine, we do need to find urgent alternative interventions in this area so that we don't undermine economic turnaround through unwisely measures in dealing with grants underspending," close quote. For us as the NCOP, this is a critical task that faces us is the effective management of the limited resources of municipalities in order to ensure visible progress in transforming the apartheid spatial settlement and reduce poverty and inequality in our communities. The 54th National Elective Conference of the ANC also called on government to enact cooperative governance legislation to deal with issues relating to the efficacy of provincial and national government support to local government and provinces, as well as the harmonization of powers and functions of provinces and local government, and a framework for accountability of provincial and local government. The ANC underlines the importance of developing technical and specialist professional skills and appropriate career paths for technical specialists in local government to address the current challenges. The shortage of technical and professional skills in finance and corporate governance are some of the reasons most municipalities are failing to collect and spend finances efficiently. The lack of technical skills in engineering and the built environment also leads to escalation of costs. The National Treasury, provincial treasuries, and SALGA will have to assist in training essential staff for municipalities to also reduce fruitless expenditure. The objectives of the Municipal Finance Management Act is to secure sound and sustainable management of the fiscal and financial affairs of municipalities and municipal entities by establishing norms and standards and other requirements. Comrade Tao of SALGA also stated that as SALGA welcomes public, legal, and parliamentary discussions on linking the spatial transformation agenda with tangible empowerment of municipalities to comprehensively address challenges of development, access and opportunities to services, urban inclusivity, and better resource allocation. Another challenge faced by municipalities with regard to revenue generation is the fact that higher income customers, including industrial and commercial customers, are venturing into more affordable and reliable alternative energy options. This has a direct impact on the sales volumes and can subsequently lead to a reduction in revenue realized from the sale of electricity. It is revenue from the very same customer grouping that is needed to cross-subsidize the poor customers and directly contributes to the revenue margins required to sustain and grow the municipal electricity business. The SALGA Energy Summit advised that municipalities must improve some of their practices through benchmarking, improve tariff design, which separates the cost of providing electricity services from the cost of the energy itself, another form called unbundling, and increased revenue collection. This will require support from the Department of Energy, National Treasury, NERSA, and other institutions. It will require skills and resources at the municipal level. It is essential that the business model selected enables municipalities to leverage existing and new assets to generate additional revenue streams. The financial problems faced by municipalities require strengthened oversight and monitoring of local government and to enhance the visibility of the Select Committee on COGTA in the provinces as part of identifying and managing early warning signs. We need to improve the role of district municipalities in providing hands-on support to local government And that can be done by amending Section 82, subsection 2A of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act. The local government fiscal framework affords municipalities numerous funding instruments to enable them to sustain effective and quality services as per their constitutional objectives. It is submitted that the local government business model, in terms of these revenue instruments and the many competing functions performed by municipalities, is insufficient. There is a need to review the fiscal framework in terms of what is being transferred from central government to local government. There is a decline in infrastructure grants as pronounced by the Minister of Finance in the 2018 budget speech. Infrastructure grants will be reduced by 3.5 billion rand in the medium term. There is a need for municipalities to start leveraging on their current infrastructure financing capacity with the reducing infrastructure grants. Some of the metros have already started using financial markets to source extra funding. National Treasury is also looking at how to enhance municipalities to be attractive in the financial markets. The 2018 budget correctly analyzes that the entrenched legacy of colonialism and apartheid are to be found in the structure and character of the economy and the budget becomes one instrument to address this. Wealth is produced and allocated along lines that remain fundamentally unjust. The call in the budget is for a transformation that must be mass-based, benefiting the most disadvantaged through the creation of new assets, capabilities, and opportunities to build livelihoods. As part of this mobilization of both private and public investments in social and economic infrastructure, new technologies and new activities that help build a diversified economy is essential. House Chair, we want to express our utmost appreciation to the leadership of SALGA, the various delegates of the 2018 Local Government Week from municipalities, and the ministers who led the discussions of the plenaries and commissions. We have indeed regained a renewed vigor to transform the settlement patterns and to ensure the integration of our communities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutara. I shall now call on the Honorable NCOP, Eastern Cape Deputy Chairperson of Committees.
Honorable Chair, and all members present here, it is indeed an honor for me to have been invited to debate under the auspices of the National Council of Provinces and SALGA. I concur with the objectives of the session, which among other things is to find a common ground on solutions to challenges that you all face as the three spheres of government. It is very important, and the nature of this session must take stock of the work done and possible solutions to instill the values of good governance in the context of the Back to Basics program. It is through this session that we must be able to outline the integrated programs and plans of the municipalities to create better communities and a better life for all of our people. Mandated by the 2018-19 SONA, the SOPA, the policy speeches, and municipal IDPs, as the Eastern Cape, we have identified that there's a lack of a cohesive strategy to guide local economic development, which undermines our ability to stimulate and activate partnerships with the private sector and donors and investors. To position the province and municipalities, we are working in collaboration with other provincial governments, departments, to develop a provincial economic special development plan. The plan will inform the province about the location of primary and secondary corridors and nodes, thus allowing government to coordinate vertically and horizontally with the private sector, state-owned enterprises, development agencies, investors, donors, and other players to map out the agenda of radical economic transformation in the province. The plan will then fully inform municipalities about the developmental opportunities in their areas as the key players and stakeholders, taking into consideration the support that we need and that is expected to be given to municipalities. Currently, we are working with Statistics South Africa as well as SALGA to build local economic development in our municipalities. We'll also activate other organs of state and small businesses for funding in line with the recommendations of the LED Partnership Summit and the Local Government Week that we had those discussions in the past 3 days. One of the critical areas of partnership between municipalities and traditional leadership institutions is the renewed urgency of promoting coordination and cooperation around land issues to unlock development opportunities in agriculture, environmental management, and service delivery. In the context of the rampant land grabs and illegal sale of land, COCTA and the Eastern Cape government will facilitate joint roadshows throughout our traditional leadership institutions. Traditional leaders should play a key role in community-based planning and spatial planning, land use management according to the Act. Acknowledging the strategic role and importance of traditional leadership to our communities, the widows, the orphans, the ex-mine workers, and all the disadvantaged people that are suffering through poverty, inequality, and unemployment are dumped in our province. We remain committed to improve the developmental capacity of traditional leadership institutions. To this end, we will focus on the establishment of traditional councils under the new dispensation and promote partnerships between the traditional councils and municipalities around them. We'll facilitate access to traditional land under traditional leadership for human settlements and economic development. During this financial year, we'll host a traditional leadership council to promote participation of traditional leaders, their institutions, and all those that participate in traditional leadership. The governance and developmental issues such as the impact of SPLUMA, LED, poverty eradication strategies, and community safety and stability will be among the issues that will be discussed in the summit. We'll continue to support the resolution on the traditional leadership claims and disputes to find lasting solutions on these matters. In this context, the Department of COCTA in the province has developed and distributed to all key stakeholders a strategy. That strategy will deal with traditional leadership claims and disputes. This strategy will be fully implemented during the current financial year as a move to stabilize the institutions. The capacity of traditional leaders and their institutions are equally important towards an integrated spatial planning. The department will continue to strive to harmonize relations among traditional leadership institutions and government institutions to improve the delivery of services to the people. A forum of kings and queens will be launched very soon to create a platform to engage with the kings and queens on developmental issues across kingdoms. In conclusion, Chairperson, the NCOP is well on course with the development and the implementation of the policies, guidelines to ensure maximum interventions, governance and municipal support, resource allocation, and land use towards integrated spatial planning and powers and functions in municipalities to maximize oversight. But Chair, we say all this, can have all these plans, but if they are not talking to the fight against gender-based violence, discrimination, the brutal killings of young women and children, our efforts will be null and void. Time frame leadership is always important so that we all have mutual accountability as the fears of government. These strategic recommendations that we took during this local government week should be taken forward and ensure that we bring the objectives of a functional local government and ensure that our communities get their better life that they've been waiting for since 1994. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I shall now call on the Honorable A.B. Majuba, Deputy Speaker of Mpumalanga.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Speakers and Deputy Speakers, delegates from provinces, President of SALGA, Councillor Tau, Executive Mayors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me pass my sincere greetings to everyone in this august House. We are humbled to be afforded this opportunity during the Workers' Month. We are expected to speak on the outcomes of the successful Local Government Week as we share our views on the topic at hand. In the year of the centenary celebration to one of the revered wealth and struggle icon, the first president of the democratic dispensation, Nelson Mandela, would like to quote the Freedom Charter clause on land redistribution, open quote, "The land shall be shared amongst those who work it. Restrictions of land on a racial basis shall be ended, and all the land be redivided amongst those who work it to banish famine and land hunger. The state shall help the peasants with implements, seed, tractors, and dams to save the soil and assist the tillers. Freedom of movement shall be guaranteed to all who work on the land. All shall have the right to occupy land wherever they choose. People shall not be robbed of their cattle, and forced labor and farm prisons shall be abolished," close quote. Despite the challenges that persist in the local government sphere, there is a lot of achievements that local government has been able to make thus far. Our task is to consolidate the gains made to continue with service delivery to the downtrodden masses of our people. South Africa remains a highly unequal society due to the historical injustices caused by colonization of a special type and apartheid-skewed development. The biggest challenge since the dawn of democratic breakthrough that the government of today is faced with is the triple challenge of ever-increasing level of poverty, high level of inequality and unemployment. The key challenges inherited from the colonial and apartheid eras included massive structural and endemic social inequality, widespread poverty, rising unemployment, racially segregated communities, and a shaky economy. These challenges have resulted in a South Africa that is divided, further entrenched by the colonial borders, an equitable distribution of people and economic activity. We also know that due to the pressures of urbanization, Our municipalities, especially in those in the metros and the cities, are the targets for survival. In trying to have an integrated spatial planning, if we cannot plan correctly how to develop cities and open economic opportunities to our people, we must then find amicable ways to take these opportunities to the people. The least we can do to our people is to place opportunities next to them. We are of the view that more resources must be given to our municipalities, as they are at the center of service delivery. Our municipalities, even those in rural places, are pressured to deliver services to our people as a result of the growing population and lack of basic services. Although the Constitution authorizes the assumption of obligations of the local sphere of government by a provincial executive in terms of Section 139, these have since become prevalent in certain provinces to destabilize municipalities. Section 154 of the Constitution, which requires national and provincial governments to support and strengthen the capacity of municipalities to exercise their powers and perform their functions, must be fully adhered to. Municipalities are central to the land question as they face the people's struggle on a daily basis. With more support, monitoring, and evaluation, we will be able to minimize service delivery protests, land grabs, and other forms of community struggles. Municipalities must be supported to deal with the supply of water and addressing challenges facing drought-stricken areas, especially those in rural areas. The inability of municipalities to exercise their powers and functions as per their constitutional mandate impacts on the local government fiscal framework. Most of our municipalities are not financially viable and do not have any alternative ways for revenue collection. Our cooperative governance ministry and departments must be very close to the situation rather than wait for crisis and enforce Section 139. With all provinces and key ministries gathered here this week, we cannot fail to provide a new path for our local government sphere to be strengthened and advance service delivery in order to improve the lives of ordinary citizens. At the center of all this, it is the land question. When addressing the launch of the KwaZulu-Natal Land Reform Pilot Program in 1995, Nelson Mandela said, open quote, "With freedom and democracy last year came restoration of the right to land, and with it the opportunity to address the effects of centuries of dispossession and denial. Amongst other key issues, the following recommendations should be supported. All spheres of government should adopt an integrated approach to planning and explore mechanisms to accelerate service delivery. Care should be taken to include the people in such initiatives and provide feedback to the people to lessen burden on local government. Expedite the processing of the monitoring and intervention bill. Contingency plans need to be developed for drought-stricken areas, especially in rural areas. Consider different funding models to convert township houses to modern metropole houses. Revenue-generating tools should be considered. The current fiscus is severely limited and strained. Oversight of local government by stakeholders in all spheres of government, including parliament, provincial legislatures, and municipal councils. We hope that these interactions would improve our collective understanding, not only of the role we ought to be playing, but also the non-separable work within and across the three spheres of government with improved communication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honorable A.J. Bukes, the Northern Cape Chairperson Portfolio Committee on Coxstar, you are the next.
Honorable House Chairperson to the NCOP, members of the Houses of Parliament, members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, members of Provincial Legislature in Salga, our visitors in the gallery, my comrades and friends. Let me start by thanking the NCOP and Salga for this initiative to have this 3-day program on the theme Land Use Towards Integrated Spatial Planning. I also want to thank my party, the African National Congress, for this opportunity on this historic day. It's because of that historic moment and day, I was the first and the youngest chairperson of the Transitional Council in 1992. Behalwe vir die feit dat die Noord-Kaap een van die mooiste provinsies is, met die meeste kontraste, is dit uitgestrek met unieke uitdagings en unieke behoeftes. But in most of the deliberations of the past 2 days, I experienced that we are dealing with the same issues. Honorable Chair, dit beklemtoon weer eens dat plaaslike regering uniek is en die naaste aan ons mense is. En die konsep mens is mens deur ander mense vereenselwig. A quote from Maya Angelou, and I start quote, I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel, close quote. Dit wil sê, dat plaaslike regering is mensgedrewe. There's a need to re-evaluate and interpret the concept people first. Many provinces are rural in nature, and with that are subject to the worst levels of poverty. The efforts of government to create a conducive environment cannot go unnoticed. All these investments are located within demarcated areas of municipalities, and everything to the need of our people should be in consultation with our community. The million-dollar question, however, is, are we ready? Are the circumstances conducive? Do we have the capacity? And are we capable and on top of the topic, or at least eager to understand, to be able to engage on any platform, especially on issues of economic development and poverty relief? Honorable Chair, renewable energy is the future, and the Northern Cape, its expansive land masses, is certainly able to contribute towards a vision of clean energy. The immediate communities must benefit, which will have a cumulative effect towards sustainable municipalities. A massive clean green electricity plant to be officially launched in the Northern Cape on the 18th of May 2018 near Pofadder in the Kaima municipal area. And it is expected to have an impact on the local community. Ek is egter geneig om te vra hoe die projek nou 'n impak gaan hê. Ons het al reeds hoeveel projekte in die bepaalde area, maar steeds sien ons nie die impak of ervare verandering in die daaglikse omgang met ons mense nie en neem sosiale verval liewers die oorhand. The lack of opportunities in rural areas result in a large part of rural population relocating to urban areas in search of better opportunities. There's also the possibility of a zinc refinery in the same area, but we as oversight bodies must make sure that there is community involvement through the council. We maybe need to train our councillors to deal with SLPs. Through those engagement, identify students to study as town planners, especially to address the issue of scarce skills in our municipalities. A very real issue that presented itself was the amalgamation of rural and poor municipalities. Pertinent to this is that 90% of the population is indigent. And then we must understand that your sustainability will be severely compromised. Vooraf inspeksie en vereenselwiging met werklikheid, bijvoorbeeld afstande en effectieve dienslevering moet in ag geneem word. In our province, I think we need to discuss it due to the vastness of certain municipalities and the impact of service delivery. The newly established David Kruiper, which includes Meer municipality, can be the barometer for future amalgamations. We acknowledge that everything did not go smoothly, but there's financial viability. In ag genome die programme van nasionale regering, Is die ontvankelijkheid en kapasiteit van municipaliteite 'n probleem? Kyk maar na Project Consolidate en die impak op municipaliteite. It is of paramount importance that small town regeneration becomes a priority. Where possible, the authorities must have viable incentive schemes to attract investment to these towns and must also maintain infrastructure. After how many years are we still speaking about lack of municipality infrastructure and systems? In 2017 het municipaliteite 53,1 miljard rand onderspandeer. Maar met die daarstelling van impacts in municipaliteite en die kapasitering en toerusting om effectieve oorsig te doen, kan die probleem aangespreek word. Dit wil sê opleiding en erkenning. None of our municipalities in the Northern Cape were subjected to 139 interventions. It is not that we not experiencing challenges, but we do have Section 136 of MFMA in the following municipalities: Magareng, Dikgatlong, Renosterburg, and Ubuntu. We also have identified 9 municipalities as financially distressed municipalities. And in this audit outcome, we saw a marked improvement in Dikgatlong and Magareng. We are struggling in some municipalities with the submitting of annual financial statements. The MOU between Treasury and COGTA will ensure that the monitoring on recovery plans and the impact of the financial experts. But as oversight body, we will make sure that it will be a fruitful exercise. We pride ourselves in the progress of the implementation of SPLUMA because it is on track in most of our regions. We however experience problems in some areas for the lack of consultation with traditional leaders like in John Taule Gatsiwe region. Om seksie 154 te vervul, moet municipaliteite eerlik wees om bepaalde rooi ligte soos aanhoudende onderspandering van grants aan te meld. Adhere to policies to report and openly ask for assistance, effective monitoring of recovery plans, and report to Council on audit action plans. In the Northern Cape, we are blessed with a scarce national resource such as water. We have open spaces and diversity of people. Maar ons sit bijvoorbeeld in Rooiwal en Vioolstrif, asook in die Witbank gemeenskap, met gemeenskappe wat verward is oor die bou van 'n dam, where the three spheres of government are not speaking to each other. In Afrikaans sê ons, elke handjie is op sy eie mishoop. We could have used it to our advantage as government and inform the community in time that there will be positives such as job creation and economic spin-offs. I want to thank our delegates in the NCOP for working hard and engaging with us. House Chair, I want to close with a quote of John Adams. I must study politics and war so that my sons may have the liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. Close quote. Let's take hands and make sure that his dream come true. I thank you. Baie dankie.
Baie dankie, Honorable Yukis. Honorable Gayla. The Honorable Member Gayla.
Awe Gayla. Honorable Chairperson, notwithstanding the outbreak of listeriosis, in which at least 190 people have died, South Africa does not meet the World Health Standards for food inspectors. According to the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, NICD, we have just one environmental health practitioner per 30,000 people. The World Health Organization recommends a ratio of health inspectors for every 10,000 people. This means South Africa does not have enough people checking the health and safety standards for production. Municipalities, in particular those in rural and small towns, are the hardest hit. They must be helped to be proactive, to pre-plan and meet the required standards of at least one environmental health practitioner for 10,000 people. Then NICD must have more labs to deal with this crisis. The Chairperson, the municipalities are the culprits with regard to non-payment of service providers within the required 30 days as per National Treasury Instruction Note number 34. This is not only the defiance of the government policy, but a brutal onslaught against the poor masses of our people who are trying to do their best to live better through their own initiatives. The UDM suggests that the NCOP institute an urgent investigation of the extent of this crime against our people who are running small businesses. We must know which municipality is in debt to our poor people and how much are they owed. Once this is established, culprits must be reported to the relevant authorities for proper costs on behalf of our local workers, caterers, and B&Bs. Lastly, there are still municipalities and institutions who are hell-bent on defying another government policy, that of buying local. Official goes to places, efana nomngqeshe abantu base-Eastern Cape, nisuke niye Fish River, niyotya khona, nishiye umngqesha omanejwa ngabantu abamnyama benu, ningamsapoti umngqesha. Nendawo ezithile i-B&B zabantu abamnyama nesapoti, ubana nifuna uhamba ama-nice time. Zinto ezenzekayo ke. Enye into eyenzekayo, nandi esiXhoseni, zi-inspectors ezijonga ukutya okurayithi okudliwa ngabantu. Azikho koomasipala. Simthanda singamthanda urhulumente emdala, ekwi-inspectors, ukutya okudala kususwe. That is why abantu begula beneswekile. Kubana oomasipala bethu, akho mntu bajongileyo, bana mabajonge impilo zabantu bethu, kuqathwe ii-inspectors. Treasury, nikana oomasipala imali bana kuqatshwe ezi-inspectors. Bayafa abantu bakuthi. Ngenxa yotya into ezirongo, into ezidambishwayo eziphuma kwamanye amazwe. Iinkukhu ezihamba over a year, zihamba ngezikhephe. Kunikwa abantu abamnyama, ubana ubomi babantu abamnyama akuhoywanga. Kanti ke nincedeni ke treasure, nibancede ngemali, so that bekho inspectors ezihlola ukutya esikutyayo. Abantu bafa ngokutya akurongo okutyiwayo. Urhulumente mntakarhayi uspende izimali ezininji ezibhedlela ngenxa yento ezirongo ezityiwa ngabantu bakuthi ezidalwa nini baphetheyo. Inkosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gaila. The Honorable M. Rosho, Northwest Chairperson of Portfolio Committee on Local Government and Human Settlement.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, the NCOP Chairperson and his deputy in absentia, delegation of SALGA led by the President of SALGA, Councillor Tawu, honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Chair of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Dumelang Bagaetsho. It is a clear pleasure to participate on a debate of Local Government Week outcomes under the theme, Land Use Towards Integrated Spatial Planning. Indeed, Honorable House Chair, it emphasized the importance of integrated spatial planning as a tool to reduce economic marginalization and also deracialization of the landscape of our country. These interactions underline the seriousness which we must take our obligation to continue to listen and hear voices of our people through the sphere of local government. For those of us who hail from a rural province, which is mainly dominated by villages, small towns, and just a few cities, the apartheid economic spatial structure still remains, which has divided people on the basis of race, class, and economic status. The past is still living with us, honorable members, but it is also now compounded by the developing political, fiscal, and legal challenges of the present dispensation. For instance, the Northwest Provincial Government has developed a pillar of government with the acronym of VTSD, Villages, Townships, Small and Small Dorpies, which is targeting all those areas for economic activity as well as social transformation. The program, honorable members, still needs to be assessed objectively to determine its effectiveness and its impact thereof, to ensure that spatial planning programs is a reality to our people. Equally so, its relationship with the municipalities has to be strengthened, honorable councillors, and be clearly defined. However, it remains to be an interesting case study for undoing the injustices of the past and on what to do and what not to do when developing an integrated spatial planning. There is a need to address issues of tribal lands and traditional leadership governance, which are now in the form of bills before the National Council of Provinces. From a rural provinces, it is difficult to talk about spatial planning without addressing the issue of land tenure and traditional governance. Otherwise, the municipalities will not be able to raise sufficient revenue as people continue to build big houses and small companies in tribal lands to avoid paying municipal property rates and taxes. On integrated spatial planning, Honorable House Chair, as the Northwest, we support integrated spatial planning commission recommendations and with emphasis on the impact of land invasions on which it derails planning on local government. It is also, honorable members, the view of the Northwest Provincial Legislature, and we have resolved that in terms of our report last week during the budget debates, that there must be provision of bursaries on town planning, and that should be prioritized for integrated planning to be realized in the province. We have resolved that last week as a province, honorable members. And we also want to call SALGA to therefore advocate for such in line with the NDP and implement the program of action. The issue of energy and independent power production should be inclusive so as to enable municipalities to provide clean and affordable electricity to the municipalities. On governance and municipal support, we should develop an early warning monitoring system to enable provincial and national government as well as SALGA in providing appropriate support for municipalities. The tabling of Section 47 reports, honorable members, through the National Council of Provinces must be prioritized by all provincial departments of COCTA in our country, because it will assist us to be able to track progress and performance of our municipalities. And also it will assist us to make sure that we continue to do oversight in strengthening the delivery of services to our people. The interventions of Section 139, honorable members, I must share with you that as the Northwest Province, we have already done an oversight work and a research around that. And we have realized that it has not yielded the expected results, because municipalities continue to face those challenges that actually the purpose of interventions were meant for. And it is against this view that we have resolved that there is a need to strengthen monitoring and oversight of municipalities under administration by various departments of COCTA, including Treasury, so that we continue to improve on our...
Honorable Member Rocha, please take your seat. There is a point of order. Honorable Chabangu.
I'm asking...
Order, honorable members. Honorable Chabangu.
Whether the honorable member can take a simple question.
Honorable member, are you ready to take your question?
I will unfortunately not take any question. If there are any questions, we can do them after this session.
She's not ready. Take your seat, honorable member. Continue, honorable Rocha.
Thank you, honorable House Chair. I was actually expressing a view in terms of the work that we've done around Section 139 interventions as a portfolio committee, and would want actually to pursue both the COCTA department as well as Treasury to re-engineer in terms of their oversight function in that respect. Because the findings in terms of the portfolio committee in doing an assessment, we have actually established that there is no value for money in terms of making those assessments. Under Fiscal Commission, Honorable House Chair, the review of the white paper assumptions on local government funding and factor the results on the exercise to review vertical formula of the equitable share. And as the Northwest Province, we still hold a view that every year during the process of division of revenue bills, we raise the issue of equitable share formula. The sooner the issue is settled, honorable members, in the National Council of Provinces, the better for all of us, especially rural provinces. We should look at the issue of tribal lands and municipal lands on the issue of rates. The municipalities are losing a lot of revenue on the issue of properties and tribal lands. As I conclude, honorable House Chair, We appreciate the opportunity to participate on Local Government Week, which once again confirms the National Council of Provinces at the center of intergovernmental governance, where local government sphere participates as an equal partner and sphere. And we therefore want to support all the recommendations as made by the commissions yesterday, and we're looking forward for the implementation thereof by all departments of local government as well as local sphere of government. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I shall now call on the President of SALGA, Councillor Peter Wu.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson, the Honorable Chief Whip of the NCOP, Honorable members of the NCOP, SALGA NCOP reps, the National Executive Committee members of SALGA, fellow councillors, esteemed guests, the media, and our visitors in the gallery. It has been a distinct honor taking part in deliberations of the 2018 Local Government Week. Let me also here acknowledge the active participation of both the chairperson and deputy chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders in our deliberations and activities at the Local Government Week. As the South African Local Government Association, we extend our appreciation to the National Council of Provinces for providing a ready platform to share experiences and best practices on matters affecting local government. The NCOP is a fitting space to finding lasting and sustainable solutions to matters pertaining to local government. SALGA is especially pleased that engagements took place around urban and territorial planning, unraveling land reform beyond mere expropriation, and focusing attention on diverse mechanisms of sourcing infrastructure investment. Honorable House Chair, new urban and territorial planning is needed that is markedly simpler, faster, and cost-effective. Such modernized urban and territorial planning is important to respond to spatial redress, realizing the new urban agenda and the goals of our National Development Plan. Traditional or old-fashioned planning is no longer relevant given the present complex challenges of climate change, superurbanization, and migration patterns. New urban and territorial planning has to be adaptable in reckoning with proliferation of informal settlements while focused on advancing spatial inclusivity, regeneration of small towns, and strengthening linkages between rural and urban areas. As such, planning for new realities is critical in delivery of cost-effective and efficient basic services. Honorable members, the matter of land reform is now seminal across the three spheres of intergovernmental relations. As I've indicated in my opening remarks to the Local Government Week, land reform comprises more than land expropriation and ownership. Land reform also talks to management and usage, since land must be viewed as an asset in the hands of state. It is an asset that has tradable value and can be marshaled as an economic lever. Furthermore, land management and planning entails family and group rights. It involves citywide slum upgrading. What is more, comprehensive land reform and management is also about land-based financing that encapsulates land tax for financial and land management. I believe we can learn from the values and principles of the Global Land Tools Network. This network emphasizes the following principles that land reform must be. It must be pro-poor, equitable, sustainable, affordable, systematically large and scalable, must be gender sensitive whilst taking into consideration good governance, subsidiarity, and the continuum of land rights. Honorable House Chair, quite clearly the current local government business model has proven insufficient to address the growing and competing functions performed by municipalities. As SALGA, it is our submission that there is an urgent need to review the fiscal framework in terms of what is being transferred from national to local government. SALGA continues to advocate for an equitable fiscal dispensation that is considerate of the assigned mandate and the many responsibilities undertaken by local government. We argue that the slashing of 3.5 billion rands municipal infrastructure grants in the medium term will have a knock-on effect on regional economic development. Most concerning is also the sufficiency of the two main trading services, electricity and water. Can these two trading services still provide surplus funds for our municipalities? If not, what then are the other sources of revenue from which municipalities can cross-subsidize other services? We take into consideration the impact of increases in bulk tariffs of these two services over the past 10 years, and how renewable energy and droughts have affected the ability of municipalities to generate surpluses from these services. SALGA will continue to advocate for effective approaches to debt reduction, and such we propose once again the following: a bill on the writing off of household debts to municipalities, amendments of the Tax Administration Act to allow for access of non-financial data to improve municipal billing, and the proposal of payment of municipal debts before tax refunds are made. Amendments in the Municipal Systems Act Schedule 10 to extend its provisions to all employees and POP benefiting from the fiscus, and a study on the financial and fiscal repercussions of ESCOM's role in the electricity distribution industry on local government. Honorable members, we must work together to implement the integrated urban development framework. Throughout our cities and urban areas, we must ensure sustainable energy efficient buildings, sustainable integrated transport, sustainable energy, sustainable water supply, and sustainable waste disposal. It is in this context that as SALGA, we remain convinced that rural development and land reform can enormously contribute towards not only radical economic empowerment of our people, but serve as a catalyst for nation building and reconciliation in our country. As a fundamental aspect of our thoroughgoing national and local government transformation, all South Africans have a right to land and its associated economic empowerment. Allow me to conclude with the words of our former President Nelson Mandela in his address to the inaugural conference of the organized local government in November 1996, and I quote, "You have the task of doing whatever is necessary to ensure that our new local government system serves the needs of our communities. You have the responsibility to make their voice heard and to provide an effective instrument for them to improve their lives," close quote. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable President. Honorable Isaac.
Under pressure. Honorable Chairperson, yes, thank you for the opportunity. Fellow South Africans, let's get the blood pressure going. The DA has a proven track record in the municipalities that we govern throughout the country. The Auditor General's report bears testament to this fact. It must be realized, Honorable Chairperson, that the services delivered and opportunities created within a local municipality will actually determine if a land reform project will succeed or not. This now brings into focus, if you listen, not only the need to transfer land ownership, but to also create further opportunities then for beneficiaries. Honorable Chairperson, the DA believes in more than just land transfer targets, but where the people's lives are actually improved or not. Currently, there remains a number of issues that need to be highlighted that further impedes the roles that local governments are responsible for. There is a large scale of mismanagement at local government level throughout the country. For example, ma'am, the horrific state of the Northwest Province, where even the provincial treasury is under administration, resulting in the further collapse of municipalities. Again, the large number of municipalities that have contravened the Municipal Finance Management Act. I told you I get the blood pressure going, Chairperson.
Order, honorable members, order.
Honorable Chairperson.
Please don't drown the speaker.
The large number of municipalities that have contravened the Municipal Finance Management Act by making large deposits, and I'm surprised not one of the speakers mentioned this all afternoon, by making large deposits at VBS Mutual Bank with kickbacks that were promised to officials. None of you could even pick that up. Nevertheless, Chairperson, to move further, these municipalities are now unlikely to get their deposits back as a result of mismanagement. Some of these municipalities, my fellow colleagues, deposited as much as 53%.
Honorable Isaac.
Yes, ma'am.
Please take your seat. Please take your seat.
My time, ma'am.
Take your seat. Don't worry about the time.
Chair.
The Honorable Mtimnye, why are you standing?
I'm rising on a point of order, Honorable House Chair.
What is the point of order, Honorable
I think
Mtimnye?
the Speaker of the podium is completely irrelevant to the topic.
Are you done, Honorable Mtimnye? Okay, Honorable Mtimnye, you are the one who is out of order. The Honorable member is debating. Honorable Isaac, continue with your debate.
Nice try, Mutimunia, nice try. Okay, so colleagues, yes, 53% of some of these municipalities' annual budgets were deposited at VBS Mutual Bank. This government then continues to condone the passing of unfunded budgets by municipalities as a result of mismanagement at local government level. And this now creates even further delays of land reform, which is now fueling poverty even further. As most of you know, like I do know in my municipality, the IDP exercise is but a tick box exercise. Nevertheless, Chairperson, the district municipalities are bleeding the fiscus. It remains a proven employment bureau, and there's no doubt about that, and I'll show you why. Why can local governments now not be empowered to do what the district municipalities are failing in? Again, when are we going to apply the Municipal Structures Act and make sure that we have people employed that can, with the correct qualifications, that are fit for purpose, instead of continuously rewarding cadres that remain loyal and as party subjects? Nevertheless, in conclusion, I would move, because my time is not on my side. We have to accept and digest this for future. We have to accept that dynamics of revenue within municipalities across the three spheres of government would also have to change, and we accept that. Considering that local governments not only receive 9% of the budget, which was said by many of you, my colleague has again highlighted the bloated budget of 48% to national government, with its sad 30% of ministries. Nevertheless, it is a fact that the huge prevalence of mismanagement at local government poses a huge risk for this division of revenue to change currently. I want to highlight, like many of my other colleagues in this House have highlighted, that oversight and holding local governments to account under the Public Finance Management Act must strengthen. It is sad that the current government continues to fail the citizens of this nation, yet our people are still struggling to find employment day to day, which is causing even more poverty. Colleagues, I urge you to look towards examples of the DA-run municipalities. My fellow South Africans, it's been a great opportunity. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Isaac. The Honorable Member, Elsie Dlamini. Honorable members from Mpumalanga, please have order in the House. Honorable Isaac, take your seat.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My greetings to you and the President of SALGA, honorable members, special delegates. I feel very much honored to be given an opportunity to debate issues that relates to local government where our people resides, people who are very close and central to the policies of the African National Congress. Honorable Chair, sometimes you try to be an honorable member, but you are pushed to be something else. Honorable Chair, let me start. I've been invited to start from the municipalities where the DA is governing. I'm starting in Cape Town. Honorable Chair, you don't need a report or somebody to tell you. Just as you land at the airport, look at the informal settlement that is in Cape Town. Look at Khayelitsha, look at Cape Flats, and you look at inner Cape Town, Sea Point, and see how desperate is the municipality, the city of Cape Town. Honorable Chair, informal settlement that is even built on the bank of the roads, it shows a sign of poor planning, nothing else but poor planning. That is where the DA is leading. Honorable Chair, they are talking about EDA ikhuluma ngokuthi the first speaker of the DA spoke about 927 water infrastructure that is at the risk of collapse, or 84%. I am bound to do an abet here, Honorable Chair. I don't know, I had thought that both DA speakers were there during the apartheid regime, but it sounds like they don't know what happened. We have to teach them what happened. What would you do in a municipality where people were removed from cities and dumped in bushes? Even a hardcore criminal, Chair, when they steal, they don't dispossess you of your residential. Abakuthathela umhlaba, abakukhiphe endaweni ohlala kuyo, bangakuniki ne-sanitation, unganikwa namanzi. But your grandfathers, unfortunately, Chair, if you can divide us here in this house, you will find that in this side of the house, there are those who benefited from the apartheid. In the other side of the house, there are those who were victims of the apartheid. Let's not go there because you know what you are talking about. Honorable Chair, just to remind them, it is a well-known fact that colonialism and apartheid created South African society that is deeply divided. Isaac, I don't know where were you. You look like you were there. But you debate as if you were not there. And it is...
Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Isaac, why are you standing?
Please, can she sit down? Please?
Honorable Dlamini, take your seat. Take your seat, Honorable Dlamini. Why are you standing, Honorable Isaac?
Chairperson, first of all,
I want to know why you are...
I'm standing on a point of order.
What is the point of order?
Firstly, like you and like the member at the podium, I am Honorable Isaac. Number two...
I said Honorable Isaac.
No, she said Isaac. I'm saying, just remind her.
Oh,
I am
okay,
Honorable Isaac like she's Honorable Dlamini.
Okay, continue.
Okay, she was the ex-mayor of Mombela. That's why she's here
continue.
now. But nevertheless, Chairperson, will the Honorable member at the podium just take a small Yana question?
Is that a point of order, Honorable Isaac? Honorable Isaac, you said you're standing on a point of order. Is that a point of order? That is not a point of order. You are totally out
All
of
right,
order.
Chairperson,
Honorable.
share a story. Will she take a question?
Please take your seat. Take your seat, Honorable Isaac.
Honorable Chair, will the member at the podium take a question, please?
Honorable Isaac, you said you are standing on a point
Yeah,
of order.
I said she didn't address me as
Is that
Honorable
a point
Isaac.
of order? Is that a point of order?
But she's then having a direct conversation. She's saying Isaac.
Please take your seat.
Whatever
Honorable
you
Isaac.
say, ma'am, you in charge.
Take your seat.
Sure, Mama, sure.
Please. The Honorable Member Dlamini, Honorable Isaac is Honorable Isaac. Please don't call Honorable Isaac with his name. He is honorable. Thank you very much. Continue, Mama.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I was saying it is their grandfathers who divided this country, unfortunately. And they cannot come here. I had thought that they would have listened carefully to the quote that was made by the first speaker of Salga when she was quoting the slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering. It cannot be correct that they stand in this podium and slaughter the African National Congress, which is correcting the mess that they made during their grandfather's time. Unfortunately, Honorable Chair. During the apartheid era, Chair, Africans in urban areas and homelands, Indians and colored communities were compromised by the fragmented system that favored over some local municipalities where white people were staying, even though we have so many good white people except the deep A, but other white people are very good. And this system fundamentally damaged the spatial and social and economic environments which people lived, worked, and where they were raised, Honorable Chair. The African National Congress has since 1994 changed this by establishing a number of laws and coherent infrastructure systems that is working for all municipalities, which is hosting everyone, irregardless of their race and color, which you fail with your ancestors. But having said that, Honorable Chair, currently, many municipalities continues to experience challenges with the acquisition of land owned by national, provincial government, state-owned entities, and private sector. Chair, those people were so corrupt in a way that you cannot think, because just before democracy, they shared land around the cities amongst themselves. It's privately owned. And they come here and complain that municipalities are not doing proper spatial planning. Yet they own that land and they decide how they want to plan the cities because they own the land. It's owned by private owners. It is one area that, Honorable Chair, it has to be taken care of by the NCOP, supporting them together with Salga, making sure that land is fast-tracked to be transferred to municipalities, which are saying they must plan with what? Because most of the land around the cities does not belong to the municipalities. Spatial planning is not only about the availability of land, it encompasses other social needs such as the availability of water, sanitation, access to water remains a challenge in South Africa. Even in some provinces where we did oversight, Honorable Chair, we found that they had been complaining that the ANC is failing to eradicate bucket system, which was not created by the ANC anyway. It was created by then and qualified recently by EDA like Cape Town, Ngabo Pota Pota. Honorable Chair, they cannot eradicate bucket system because of water shortages, even if they want. But at least the ANC did come up with something. It becomes a good problem because in trying to resolve those problems that were created during the apartheid regime, we are encountering other problems. We are proposing, Chair, House Chair, that in addressing water and sanitation, SALGA needs to engage with sector departments, including the national and provincial departments of water and sanitation, in respect of communities that are currently not receiving water. It cannot be accepted that in nowadays we still have communities who do not have water. We do understand that the ANC has done a lot in trying to address that, but something must be done to assist those communities who do not have water. While we recognize that South Africa is still faced with integrated spatial planning and service delivery, the ANC government has made great strides in integrated spatial planning and service delivery. Since 1994, the African National Congress undertook a process and still being undertaken to change planning laws inherited from the country's apartheid and colonial history. The ANC has led the way to provide an integrated, holistic approach to major social and economic questions, including the provision of infrastructure. One of the major things that the ANC has to deal with, Honorable Chair, is the issue of sanitation, which is still affecting our people. But we are hoping, Honorable Chair, that with this working together between ourselves, SALGA, provinces, and local authorities, we will be able to deal with these issues that are affecting our people. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dlamini. The Honorable Chief Whip of the Council.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chairperson. I must state from the onset that I agree with most of the sentiments that were expressed by various speakers today. And indeed, the President of SALGA, Councillor Pakstau, the NCOP is a fitting space to finding solutions to matters pertaining to local government. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa obligates us to create platform for public consideration of issues affecting provinces and municipalities. Indeed, the 2018 local government week has proven our firm commitment to work with SALGA to address the challenges facing municipalities, especially in addressing the legacy of special apartheid settlement, poverty, and underdevelopment. Honorable Megan, you are correct that the collapse of local government is the collapse of government as a whole. This is so because local government is at the coalface of service delivery and changing the lives of our people. So we've got to address challenges facing local government sphere of our government. We also discussed the issues of Section 139 at length, and we benefited from the discussions and submissions that were made in the relevant discussions yesterday. And we really agree that we need to enhance the support to municipalities, especially those that are struggling or facing challenges that affect their ability to meet their mandates and deliver quality services to our people. It was also raised very sharply by various ministers and speakers during plenary. We agree that we need to strengthen our support systems to struggling municipalities before we resort to using Section 139 of the Constitution. As the NCOP will use the outcomes of the 2018 local government week to engage with the executive, especially the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, to finalize a framework for support and intervention in municipalities that are facing challenges. We do also share with members that have raised the issues that some of the innovative measures that the province is implementing, like provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, sharing of the experience, particularly so because the province has more interventions than any other province. So we got to relook into these issues that were raised. You are correct, Councillor Mondlane, that what makes our modern day challenges even more peculiar is that they are manifestly racial in character, they manifest in racial in character. In fact, the levels of poverty, inequality and underdevelopment in our country invisibly linked not only to race, gender, but also geographic location. We've got to be alive to these realities. And Honorable Mukwele at least did raise very useful input today, and she's not here. We will share the sentiments that are expressed by Honorable Mutara around issues of effective management of limited resources on municipalities. We do understand the fiscal situation in the country. We agree with the chairperson of the council, Honorable Modise, that financial problems face municipalities require us as NCOP to strengthen our oversight and monitoring of the local government sector, especially with a focused attention to those municipalities that are struggling. Number of issues that has been raised, the need for capacitating our municipalities to discharge their mandates, as I indicated in my opening remarks, what is critical to the support of municipalities is appropriate and effective monitoring and evaluation systems that will enable us to detect on an early basis on the challenges before we resort to Section 139 of the Constitution. This is the view that was also expressed by Minister of Cooperative Governance yesterday and the Minister of Finance. Honorable members, the only way that future generations can derive pride when they reflect on the NCOP is when they can see its visible footprints on the transformation of apartheid segregated spatial landscape of our country. This brings us into sharp focus on our ability to remain focused on the issues that are critical as highlighted by the Local Government Week. We must concede that as a house located at the coalface of intergovernmental relations, we have not been able to fully monitor the executive intergovernmental relations, both at national and provincial levels. We may have to think whether it is not time that the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation should report an account on government-wide intergovernmental relations to this House biannually. One of the critical issues we should reconsider is whether our systems and practices of considering reports on the state of local government are adequate to respond to the challenges of prioritizing local government as a core phase of our service delivery and development. Honorable members, we indeed are grateful for contributions and input, not only today, but since Monday that we started with our Local Government Week. We welcome SALGA endorsement of the 2018 NCOP Local Government Week and the commitment to work together to build effective and sustainable municipalities. To those who will travel, we wish you well. Thank you the most.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity and thank the President of SALGA, our honorable speakers from the legislature, honorable members of the NCOP, SALGA representatives, and mostly to our traditional leader who is in the gallery, Mem Tlaule. We really appreciate that you started with us when we were starting the program and you're still here. Thank you very much for your commitment, Mama, and God bless you. Honorable members, I really want to wish all our visitors when they go back home, they must really travel safe. That concludes the debate and the business of the day. The honorable members are requested to remain standing until the procession